Hello and welcome to the Cybersecurity News. In this video, we are going to talk about a recent cyber attack that exploited a zero-day vulnerability in Fortinet FortiOS software. This vulnerability, tracked as CVE 2022-41328, is a path traversal bug that allows an attacker to read and write arbitrary files on a FortiGate device via crafted CLI commands. Fortinet has released patches for this flaw, so make sure you update your devices as soon as possible. The attack was discovered by Fortinet researchers after they noticed that multiple FortiGate devices belonging to a customer suffered from a sudden system halt and subsequent boot failure. This was caused by an integrity breach that detected modifications of the firmware image by the attacker. The attacker had inserted malicious files and scripts into the firmware image to gain persistent access and control over the devices. The attacker used a sophisticated exploit that required a deep understanding of FortiOS and the underlying hardware. The exploit involved compromising the devices via FortiManager, which is a management software for FortiGate devices. The attacker then used a path traversal exploit to upload arbitrary files to the devices via a TFTP server. The attacker also modified some components of FortiManager to disable firmware verification at startup and expose an additional endpoint for code execution. The malicious files that were added or modified by the attacker had various functions, such as establishing contact with a remote server to download files, exfiltrate data, and grant remote shell access. Executing shell commands with root privileges. Redirecting traffic and querying network interfaces. And removing specific components. According to Fortinet, this attack was highly targeted at governmental or government-related entities. The identity and motive of the attacker are unknown at this point. However, this attack shows how dangerous zero-day vulnerabilities can be when exploited by advanced threat actors. To protect yourself from this kind of attack, you should apply patches for CVE 2022-41328 as soon as possible. Monitor your devices for any signs of compromise or abnormal behavior. Enable firmware verification at startup. Restrict access to your devices via CLI commands. Use strong passwords and encryption for your device management. Next, we are going to talk about a recent cyber attack that used an open-source phishing kit to send millions of emails daily. This phishing kit is developed by a threat actor called Dev1101 who offers it for sale or rent to other cybercriminals. The phishing kit is capable of bypassing multi-factor authentication (MFA) by using a technique called adversary in the middle (AITM). An AITM phishing attack works by setting up a proxy server between the user and the legitimate website. When the user enters their credentials on the phishing page, the proxy server forwards them to the real website and captures both the password and the session cookie. The attacker can then use these credentials to access the user's account without needing MFA. Dev1101's phishing kit is written in Node.js with PHP reverse proxy capabilities. It has several features that make it attractive to cybercriminals, such as automated setup, detection evasion through an antibot database, management of phishing activity through Telegram bots, a wide range of ready-made phishing pages mimicking services such as Microsoft Office or Outlook, a capture page to filter out automated systems. Microsoft Threat Intelligence has been tracking Dev1101 and their customers since May 2022, when they started advertising their AITM kit on a Telegram channel and a cybercrime forum. Since then, they have increased their price several times due to high demand and added more features to their kit. One of Dev1101's most prominent customers is Dev0928, who has been launching high-volume phishing campaigns using their kit since September 2022. Microsoft has detected over 1 million emails sent by Dev0928 in 1 month alone. The emails are document-themed and contain a link to a PDF document that leads to a login page that looks like Microsoft's sign-in portal. However, before reaching the login page, the user has to complete a capture step that makes it harder for automated systems to detect the phishing page. To protect yourself from this kind of attack, you should be wary of unsolicited emails with links or attachments. Check the URL of any website before entering your credentials. Use strong passwords and MFA for your accounts. Report any suspicious emails or websites to your IT department or security provider. Finally, we are going to talk about a recent update from the UK government on its national security plan to stop more of China's secret stealing cyber tricks. The UK has announced the creation of a new agency called the National Protective Security Agency, NPSA, that will be overseen by MI5, the Domestic Intelligence Service. The NPSA is part of the UK's Integrated Review, which is a comprehensive assessment of the country's security and international policy. The Integrated Review also includes an integrated security fund that will provide £1 billion for economic and cybersecurity, counter-terrorism and human rights. The NPSA will provide cybersecurity training and advice to businesses, schools, and non-profit organizations that are at risk of being targeted by Chinese cyber spies and other hostile actors. The NPSA will also work with the police and other government agencies to provide holistic protective security advice and boost protections against terrorist attacks. The UK government said that science, technology, and academia are as much on the front lines of national security as the critical national infrastructure. They warned that Chinese spies are trying to steal intellectual property from UK institutions in order to harm the country. This warning is based on several examples of Chinese actions in recent years, such as a Chinese intelligence officer who was convicted in a US court for economic espionage and theft of trade secrets from the US aviation sector. A UK-based engineering firm that accused a Chinese investor of stealing IP and reneging on an £8 million deal. A large-scale phishing campaign that used an open-source phishing kit developed by a threat actor called Dev1101 to bypass multi-factor authentication, MFA, by using adversary in the middle, AITM, techniques. To protect yourself from this kind of attack, you should be aware of the threats posed by Chinese spies and other hostile actors. Apply patches and updates for your devices and software regularly. Use strong passwords and MFA for your accounts. Report any suspicious emails or websites to your IT department or security provider. That's all for today's video. I hope you found it informative and useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more cybersecurity news and tips. Thank you for watching and stay safe online.